It is the far, far left Star Wars fans that are a extremely vocal minority, a toxic group of the saddest individuals you will ever interact with that seems to have some amount of influence over Lucasfilm and Star Wars decision-making process.
Today we are talking more about the High Republic because the High Republic continues to prove me right when I said it was SJW garbage. Almost every person attached to the High Republic seems to have a problem with white people. The official Star Wars account has now admitted to exactly what we've been accusing this company of for years, that they support racism as long as it's against white people. They have taken 40 years worth of fans and stories and transformed it into a social justice propaganda machine.
So before the end of 2020, I made a video about Brie Larson and Anti-SJWs' obsession with her, and I said I feel this is like pretty dangerous how much content they put out to drive so much hatred to one person for things that she said that weren't even that bad. She was talking about diversity in the film critic community, and these guys just went absolutely off on one, saying she was racist against white people.
I don't want to hear what a white dude has to say.
And that's going to be a theme in this video. But essentially, what these bigger channels do is make a target, like Kathleen Kennedy, like Brie Larson, and they found a new target for their new videos lately, and they drive this hatred towards them. But now they're seeing the consequences of their actions, where someone they've harassed and driven hate towards is actually getting really, really racist messages on Instagram as a direct result from the videos they've been making. Now, one last thing before we discuss what we're going to discuss today. People like to say, how are you any better than TheQuartering and Geeks and Gamers because you've made several videos on them? Well, the difference is I just take two popular creators because people know them, but they are representative of a larger movement online. There are so many copycat channels of TheQuartering, of Geeks and Gamers, so why I'm using them is because they're the most popular and I feel like they should be debunked the most, but it's also so people recognise these people, and then I can talk to you about their ideology and why their videos can be so damaging. Whereas these guys, like I said, they make a target and monetize the hell out of it, keep making loads and loads and loads of videos just to, drive up their sub count and drive up their ad revenue. And like you guys can see, I don't actually make much money off YouTube because nearly everything I make is demonetized. Before we go any further, edgier content on my channel is always demonetized, so if you want to support me monetarily, please check out my Patreon. Thanks so much to everyone who has already done this. At the moment, the benefits are gaining access to the private Discord server, and you'll obviously have your name featured at the end of every video and in the description. I'm working for some other benefits that will come in the future. If you want to join our growing community, please check out the Discord and the subreddit in the description. And if you want to follow me personally, check out at the Kavernacle on Instagram and Twitter. And also u/TommyCahill1995 for my personal Reddit. So with that out the way, let's get into the video. Let's just quickly go into my experience of Star Wars. I am a massive Star Wars fan, like a lot of people my age, mid-20s. And I also, like the animated shows, I watched them, live as they were coming out, Rebels and the Clone Wars. I used to watch the YouTube series, I think it was called like Rebels Recon, where they would go into the background of an episode just to get the insight. So I knew who Dave Filoni was and all these people way before The Mandalorian came out, and I really like The Mandalorian as well. I don't think it's, the best thing ever, like a lot of these people seem to think, but I really like it, and I absolutely hate Episode 9. I think it's one of the worst movies I've ever seen. Last Jedi was okay. Force Awakens was fine. Not anything special, not great movies or anything, but Episode 9 was a complete joke, like it was written by someone at Prequel Memes, or J.J. Abrams just asked Reddit what they'd like to see. Worst film I've ever seen in the cinema, worst film I've ever paid money for. But yeah, I am a big fan, but something that's always been in the Star Wars fan base has been this toxic element, which is pretty disgusting. Think about Jake Lloyd and how much hate he got for playing Anakin and how much he got bullied, basically destroyed his life. Think of people in the new series like Kelly Marie Tran, think of John Boyega and how much hate they have got as well as a result of YouTubers like this Maybe not the two I'm talking about, because I don't know what they were doing back in 2015. But yeah, a lot of Star Wars fans were very angry at a black stormtrooper. But safe to say, Star Wars has always had a toxic fan base. Now these guys like to say that Star Wars is just made for SJWs, made by SJWs. What they fail to understand is Star Wars has always been very, very left-leaning. By George Lucas's own admission, the rebels in the original trilogy are inspired by the Viet Cong, who of course fought the Americans, and he's talking about how the Americans are the evil empire in that scenario. Then you think about the prequels as a direct response to things like the War on Terror and George Bush, to a lesser extent people like Richard Nixon and Adolf Hitler. Then you can see that Star Wars has always had left-wing political themes, and then you take it to the animated shows, and this is explored even further, including the Clone Wars. Star Wars has always been woke. It's always been made by woke people. But let's get into the whole drama. Apparently, the new host of the High Republic show, which is promoting the new series of books, which apparently are so woke, according to these anti-SJWs, apparently she hates all white people. She's racist to all white people. Now, I'm going to read you these tweets. I didn't think they were racist against white people as a white person. Please let me know when I read you these tweets. Are you offended as a white person? Do you think she's being racist as a white person? Do you think she deserves any harassment? Let alone the awful harassment that I'm going to show you. One of the big ones to them is Krystina Arielle, who is this new host, saying, white people, fucking stop it. Your racism won't save you. Your ignorance is not an excuse. So that's the first one. Another one, white conservatives, please stop invoking racism like you give a shit. You don't. You just want to be able to say what about when someone calls out 45 and is blatant racism. Got no problem with those two. Just a reminder that white women are just as complicit in the upholding and enforcing of white supremacy. Again, I don't see any lies with that tweet. Another one, I don't have an ego, I'm also not a bully. I've said repeatedly I don't owe white people a conversation about racism. I've been living with it. They've been doling it out. I'm not entering a conversation where people are intent on not understanding me. So another tweet, before one more person asks me why, it's because white people seem to think that black people exist as a monolith and only believe one way. They think that when one black person says something, we all feel that way. Basically, they're ignorant. So as a white person, how do I feel about these tweets? Well, I don't think they're racist against white people because they're not. Race is a social construct. The Western understanding of race was invented in the colonial period, from the Iberians, from the Portuguese and Spanish, in regard to groups like the Jews, groups like Muslims and Arabs, and of course, black people when they enslaved them. A lot of the time, what racism used to be was your proximity to Christ. For example, when these groups went to the New World, the reason they didn't treat the natives as bad as the black people, they treated the natives awfully, don't get me wrong, is because the natives they saw were innocent because they'd never known about Christ. Therefore, they deserved a chance, where black people in Africa, primarily West Africa at the time, had known about Christ. Therefore, they deserved their servitude. And there are reports of priests at the Vatican City during the time who saw these people, saying it was heartbreaking to see all these families separated. But what they said is it made them feel okay because they knew now they'd be away from their pagan ways and they'd be close to Christ. And it's only been built up from there, especially in the American context, where the whole of American society has been founded on racism, Jim Crow, and all these different things. So no, I don't feel bad when a black woman who will have obviously experienced racism, and now she definitely has in a provable form, says that she doesn't owe white people a conversation on race. When she says white women are also responsible for upholding white supremacy, that's true. When she says white people, I don't think she's saying every single white person on the earth, no matter what you believe, you're all responsible. And even if she did say that, it's not racist, because racism is also about a power dynamic in society. White people control the Western world. White people have a massive say in global politics. And as a result of the legacy of colonialism, they still control most of the world. We're seeing the balance kind of shift a bit with the rise of countries like India and China, but still, they come into the legacy of colonialism, where Indians are really racist against Africans and Chinese are really racist against Africans as well. They are entering a system where black people are at the bottom of the pile. And that is a legacy of colonialism, which is the system that created contemporary racism as we understand it. And as someone who is a white person from an immigrant background and primarily has a massive problem with English people in this country, I share the sentiment of white people as a collective community having this massive problem with racism. I think a big theme is that people don't understand the power dynamics of racism. So you can say you're not racist on like a personal level, like you don't see black people as lesser, but you're still upholding the system of white supremacy, and you won't challenge the system of white supremacy in, you know, trenched by our system of global capitalism right at the moment. Again, it's obviously not all white people, but if she's saying this from her perspective, you know, I haven't got much of a problem with it. I don't feel like she's being racist to me. Now, I hate watching these videos for research as much as I hate showing them to you, but here are the two man babies at TheQuartering and Geeks and Gamers, and let's see how they react to these tweets. Do you think they reacted in a rational way, or do you think they're going hysterical about anti-white racism?
So this is the person that was just announced right here. She wrote, "I can officially scream. I am the host of the new official series, Star Wars The High Republic show." And she's so excited. Congratulations. Congratulations indeed. Wow, I'm glad you're working on a Star Wars show so you can continue to tell us how terrible white people are. Continue to hire people that are blatant racist. They are racist. They are clear racist. Like, they continue to say, oh, this person said something racist. Can you show me where they said something racist? And they never can show you anything. They go, well, they meant this when they said that. You can show where this woman has tweets and tweets and tweets full of racist comments towards white people. And that's okay in the social justice propaganda world. That's okay within the walls of Lucasfilm, because this is what Kathleen Kennedy wants. This is who she hires, and this is the message she wants to continue to push forward. The official Star Wars account has now admitted to exactly what we've been accusing this company of for years, that they support racism as long as it's against white people. And they are nothing more than a left-wing social justice propaganda machine. And now they are admitting that they stand by racist comments made towards white people. That's right, the same company that didn't want to tell you about James Earl Jones' birthday, they'll sure tell you about how they stand with Krystina Arielle. Now, who is Krystina Arielle? Who is this person that apparently is getting bullied all over the internet? Who is it? Well, this is who she is. She is a person. She is a person who wants to tell you how much she doesn't like white people. If we're going to hold people accountable for tweets, if we're going to hold people accountable for the fake racism that you claim that they're saying, we're going to hold your side accountable for the real racism that they are spewing. Because I continue to hear, oh, Donald Trump, he said this, he said that. Where is it? Where did he say that? Well, here's what he meant, but he might have said this, but I know what he meant. You're actually dealing with someone who point blank said the words that we're accusing them of. Point blank.
So this guy made 2 videos in 2 days. He says he's a Trump supporter. He said Donald Trump's not racist. There's no evidence of that. So do I need any more evidence this guy's a racist? He goes hysterical at supposed anti-white tweets. He can't understand the context of a black woman saying this stuff, especially during the last year we've had in American history. Obviously, these guys are just the dumbest nerds ever. They don't understand anything about history, politics, just that, you know, SJW propaganda has taken over my Star Wars, which started with the rebels being inspired by the Viet Cong who, of course, killed thousands of American soldiers. So you don't think Star Wars has always been woke? And then you take that to the prequel trilogy, which is all about, you know, the war on terror, all about stuff like, you know, Reichstag fire and how Hitler came to power and how, you know, stuff with Nixon, all this stuff with George Bush, and now you're thinking Star Wars has recently become woke. I'd argue that Star Wars has actually gone in the opposite direction, but we'll get to that a bit later. So, yeah, this guy says the same stuff over and over again. His job is probably one of the easiest in the world. Just pick out anything and say it's anti-white racism. It's SJW propaganda. It gets so sick and tiring after a while, but why I make videos on this stuff and like to talk about it is because I talk a lot about radicalization on YouTube. So you have Trump supporters radicalizing, you know, 15-year-old little nerds about all this stuff. How's your kid going to turn out if he watches YouTubers like that? And like I was talking about on Friday with YouTube helping to radicalize people by constantly promoting the most far-right ideologies, these guys are Trump supporters. Like I said, American conservatism is a far-right ideology. This is the ideology that has indulged in every single conspiracy theory that Donald Trump and his clan have put out. This is the same group of people who will believe anything he says. They'll believe Donald Trump isn't racist, but apparently saying this stuff about white conservatives is racist. Complaining about white people not understanding racism is racist in itself. No, it's not. And these guys are so fragile. But would any video talking about this stuff be complete without looking at TheQuartering quick? And it's kind of funny how these guys sound exactly the same in terms of what they say, and they're both Trump supporters, but let's look at TheQuartering quick.
It is the far, far left Star Wars fans that are a extremely vocal minority, a toxic group of the saddest individuals you will ever interact with that seems to have some amount of influence over Lucasfilm and Star Wars decision-making process. They continue to hire some people who might be very kind people who have just said and espoused some terrible ideas, some inflammatory humanity type tweets. Just awful humans, in my opinion. This person is a divisive individual whose opinions are very, very poor. Replace white with black. Do you think you would have got a bunch of likes and retweets for that? Again, let's just say she has a long history of grouping white people together and disparaging them. All right. And again, to be very clear, if you had said these same things about black people or any other race, right, it's not okay. Is it exactly that? No, but it's pretty dang close, right? It's a level where you could make that argument, right? These people are just awful, awful, awful humans, and they say terrible things. Now's the perfect time to report Jack Posobiec and Bounding into Comics for targeted harassment. What? Shut down Bounding into Comics, bombard their comment section, report them. I mean, why? I don't know what else to tell you. She seems very, very, very uninclusive and has some troubling ideas. And it's sad that we live in this world that this kind of stuff gets rewarded.
So yeah, pretty much the same type of rubbish you always hear from these people. Now, one thing I didn't mention that both brought up is that Disney doesn't actually care about racism because they didn't care when John Boyega was minimized in the poster in China. They don't care about other stuff. Apparently, the Gina Carano stuff as well means they don't care about racism or harassment because she was tweeting all this anti-mask, anti-lockdown, anti-trans stuff. And apparently, even people like Angry Joe were saying, why don't you take a stand against this kind of bullying? Because it's not the same. This person has not said similar stuff to that. But anyway, do I think Disney is a racist or anti-racist company? Yes, it minimized John Boyega for their Chinese posters, probably because China has its own problems with racism against black people. And I'm not going to say it doesn't. Companies like Disney, which own so much stuff you watch, aren't woke. They don't have politics. They're about making money. That's why they make films like, the Mulan films to cater to one audience specifically. That's why loads and loads of Hollywood companies are catering towards a Chinese market. It's not the company going woke or supporting the Communist Party. They're just trying to make as much money as possible. China is a massive emerging market for entertainment. So should have Disney responded to that and the John Boyega stuff? Yes. But also, I'm going to show you the harassment now. What were they meant to say about this stuff? One of their own employees, not a star of their movies, one of their employees is being harassed. Now I'm going to show you the direct consequences of anti-SJWs making this content and driving these hate campaigns and driving this harassment against people like Krystina. And the problem is they don't even think they do anything wrong. So look at what she was sent as a result of that article those guys were reading in the video, as a result of both of their videos. And between them, I think it's like 200k views. And this woman, I think she only had a couple thousand followers on Twitter. Again, she's an employee. She's not the star of a multi-billion-dollar movie being shown around the world. She doesn't have loads of money. She's not someone who is particularly in the limelight getting all these criticism. You've just chose to harass some random employee over tweets that aren't even bad. And it seems the only people who have problems with her tweets are the actual racists who get all sensitive when their racism is called out. Lots of racist abuse. And where does this stuff come from? It comes from anti-SJW channels like TheQuartering, like Geeks and Gamers, and YouTube is complicit in pushing these channels continually. So in conclusion, in their grift, in their sensitivity about someone calling out white people, these guys are happy to drive harassment campaigns for money. And that's the short of it, really. They have always done this. They do this against Brie Larson. They do this against Neil Druckmann. These are the same people who led the hate campaign against Laura Bailey, which got her and her family a load of death threats. These are the same people. And now they're leading another harassment campaign to get this random Disney employee a ton of death threats and racist abuse. And YouTube lets them get away with that. And this is why I talk about these guys. You guys might say another quartering video, another Geeks and Gamers video, and I get it. But there are so many copycat channels who copied these guys, and they were all making the same videos. Type in Star Wars High Republic racism. See how many videos come up. See how many thousands of views these audiences get, and then you've seen the result of that. Get some random employee who's a frustrated black woman complaining about legitimate racism she's faced in her life, complaining about white people who don't take it seriously, white people, especially conservatives like Geeks and Gamers and Quartering, who will never understand, who never try to understand. Just talk about SJW virtue signaling when you bring up legitimate problems of historic racism in a country founded on slavery. And they will do anything for money, and that includes leading harassment campaigns. So again, as an anti-racist white person, I got no problem with her tweets. As someone from an immigrant background whose relatives were treated like garbage by the exact same people like Geeks and Gamers and The Quartering, again, who do you think I'm going to sympathise with? But anyway, that is it for the video. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. This stuff just really frustrates me to no end. If you want to support my work, please check out my Patreon. Come join the Discord. Come join the subreddit. That's in the description. Follow me on Twitter at the Kavernacle and Instagram. And thanks to all my patrons and thanks for the amazing support over the last couple of weeks. And if you made it this far, thank you for watching.